am live. I have no idea how I can check if I'm live. Well, I've got a viewer. Apparently someone's watching, so I must actually be live. Which makes a bloody change. I must actually be live. Which makes a bloody change. I must actually be live. Right, okay. Which makes a bloody change.
That's my guy, man.
What's playing? What's playing?
Where we going?
What? So we did it a bit.
Right, okay. Right, so the Twitch stream is now working. Good. I wasn't watching anything. I was on the Twitch homepage trying to figure out how the hell this works. I had a separate browser window open trying to figure out what was going on. But yeah, so I started the stream. I'm not even going to bother putting up the other one on YouTube. I'm just going to leave that on Twitch. All that was 9 minutes of a preambling chat, which honestly was me fiddling with settings and waiting for people to show up. That doesn't appear to have worked properly. Then I stopped for about 20 minutes of reading, and it dropped during that reading sprint. So I was watching. It said like four people were viewing, which was cool. Then it immediately dropped to 0, and I was like, that's got to be a glitch or something, surely. No, it's not. The stream stopped at like the 14-minute mark of the reading sprint. I continued reading for another 6 minutes. Then I got up, sat at the chair, and started chatting for about 7 minutes before I realised there was no fucker watching, and Twitch wasn't recording what I was saying, because Twitch is shite, apparently. So, thanks for that. Thanks, Twitch. How wonderful you are. So yeah. Also, well done, Me6. You advertised my stream 20 minutes into the stream and 2 minutes before the fucking thing dropped. So, well done on informing people that the stream happened after it happened. Technology. You know what, this is why YouTube's better. This is why YouTube is actually a better format than Twitch, because if I make a YouTube video, it'll actually be up. So, I'm going to make a point of... So yeah, I have now posted. I am now streaming live. Again. I wonder how long it'll be before Me6 tells everyone about this stream. Yeah, well, to be fair, the Twitch mobile app may well be hot garbage. The Twitch streaming app that I'm using at the moment is also hot garbage by the sounds of it, because it'll tell you that you're live when you're clearly not. That's probably a deal breaker when it comes to streaming, I'd say. I can't imagine that being a good a good idea for your streaming platform. It didn't even give me any indication that it had gone offline. The only reason I even bothered to check was that it said 0 viewers, and on the Discord, you asked if it had dropped. So that's what led me to believe something was going wrong. And apparently, Grunge Girl was also watching and also got booted from the stream. So that's something. So yeah, I'm expecting that this is just not going to work. I'm a little bit unsure as to whether or not I actually want to try doing another sprint just in case it kicks me off again. But it seems to be working at the moment. Well, I suppose I should discuss what I read actually, because now I'm realising that's 6 minutes worth of discussion after the reading sprint. No one actually saw that because nothing recorded it. So I'm going to go back and try and remember what I spoke about and talk about it again as if it's the first time I'm talking about it, which is awkward, but let's see if we can get it to work. Right, so I've already read the first chapter of Promise of Blood, and I'm going to just go straight into spoilers for the first chapter because I don't think anyone watching is going to care too much if I spoil the first chapter. So, I've only read 10 pages, but so far I'm quite enjoying the setup. It's a cool little setup. There's a feel for the tone of the book going in. It's slower burn than some of the other books I've been reading. It's not got quite the action setup of, say, a Sanderson book, but it's got a lot of atmosphere early on. It describes the clothing, the architecture, very, very well, giving you a sense of where you are. Your main character is asked by someone believed to be the king or someone representing the king to present himself for some reason. It's short notice, and he doesn't have his dress uniform, which is how we're introduced to the character. So he's having to wear an old one that doesn't quite fit him properly. He's clearly nervous, and as he arrives, things seem out of place. He thinks about the potential different people who could be involved, and who may be taking part in potential manoeuvrings, political manoeuvrings, who would be loyal to the king, who might not be. And as he goes in, he uncovers a few little things that seem to indicate that things aren't quite right. First of all, the soldier that comes to get him isn't wearing the correct hat and headdress that those that are loyal to the king would normally be wearing. He goes into the main building. There's a smashed window. Then he finds a dead body of someone who should be one of the loyal guards of the king. That's when he realizes this is definitely bigger than he had accounted for. As he gets into a main chamber, he speaks to someone who ends up being the field marshal. And this is an interesting point, is we're clearly late 1800s, early 1900s for the military fantasy elements here. So ranks are more in line with what you'd expect from either the Napoleonic War or possibly even as late as the First World War. Which is different. It's interesting. I don't get to see that quite so often. Oh, we've got another person. Hey, AJ. And hi, Monroe as well. Hey, guys. So, it's an interesting setup, and we find out that a coup has happened. The king is in hiding, and the field marshal is taking over. Ah, right, okay, it's Andrew, right? Didn't recognise your username on Twitch. Good for you to join us. So yeah, as we're saying, a coup has clearly happened. It's the inciting incident that's going to lead into the rest of the book. And there's literally lines from the first chapter on the front cover, which shows just how interesting this incident is going to be. It's going to be the thing that links all the other factions, I imagine. It's not clear which side your main character is going to be on. He's kind of stuck in a position where he has no real choice in accepting what's being said by this field marshal. Because if he was to oppose him and show that he's loyal to the king, he's just going to get put to death. So, following orders and actually agreeing with what's happening, that's just going to be the only way he's making it out of this scene alive. So, regardless, any sensible person is going to go along with this. Whether or not he agrees that the king should be overthrown for agreeing to these tax sanctions that are going to put heavy restraints on his people in order to avert war, that we'll find out presumably through the book. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this goes. It is slower than some of the other books that I've been reading, and it's not grabbed me as quickly as Warbreaker or Senlin Ascends did. Both of those drew me in much quicker. This, it's going to have to brew a little. It's going to have to spend a couple more chapters with me before I really know whether or not it's for me. But I get the impression that it's going to fit well for me. If you want to, go ahead. That sounds like a good plan. Shout out Hass in a video. I think that's going to confuse a lot of people because Hass is doing written reviews, aren't you, on your blog? And I think Booktube won't know what to do with them. That's going to be amusing. I'm looking forward to seeing how they react to them. No, that's me screwing up, isn't it? That's me mixing up Hass and Hemvar again because you've got names that begin with the same bloody letter. That's going to happen way too often. I do apologise. Right. Yeah. I've got completely sidetracked. Did I mention it's almost midnight? Right. So. Oh, okay. You do have a blog, right? Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I'm happy with revealing your secrets. I'm happy to force you out into the open. Yeah. Give your opinions openly. That works for me. It's pointless having an opinion if you only keep it to yourself. Shout it from the rooftops. But yeah, as I was saying, I think this is going to work for me. I think the reason this is one that I'm looking forward to most is because it feels different. I read enough fantasy that is medieval, that something that feels very much like 1910 is the year I'm getting like a strong vibe for, is going to be a nice touch. It's going to be different enough that it's going to feel fresh and unique for me. And that's something you don't get a lot of. Outside of high medieval fantasy, everything else is either a space opera fantasy that is trying to be sci-fi without actually including any science, or it's just a straight sci-fi. So this is going to feel different. It's also not a dystopian, which is the other thing I tend to read. I was aware that Brian McClellan was a student of Sanderson. It's actually one of the many things I mentioned in the lost minutes of the stream that Twitch decided to delete for me for no good reason when it dropped the stream. Because I mentioned that. In fact, I believe I mentioned that in the YouTube video I uploaded earlier today. But yeah, it does show. I think it does show. He's... Just in the first 10 pages, you can tell that he's being descriptive, but he's being utilitarian in that description, which is something Sanderson does as well. But I do think that Brian is more focused on a slower pace, from what I can tell. I'm judging this based entirely off the first 10 pages, so it's very, very early days for me to be able to say much about the way the prose are put together. The first chapter is a difficult one to use to judge prose. Like, if I judged Axiom's End on the first chapter prose-wise, I would say it was a hackneyed mess, because chapters 1 and 2 were exactly that. It took till chapter 3 before that book got off the ground and really got its stride. So I can only say very, very loose things about this book so far. But I think that I'm going to be having some fun with it, and I think that given that it's now almost 10 to 12 at night. Ow! I just bite my own bloody lip. What the hell is wrong with me today? Why the hell did I do that? Oh. This is where I wished at the beginning of this stream where I explained that I've actually had a lot of fatigue and been fighting off a migraine today already. Since I recorded that video this morning, I have not had the best of days. Oh, God. See, I was going to say, as it's getting quite late, I'll do another little reading sprint, get through chapter 2, and then we can talk about that. But apparently my body decided it wanted to do something else, and that was going to be eat my own face. So apparently I'm going to eat my own face whilst reading chapter 2. You can just read. You don't have to eat your own face. That's just something I do, apparently. I can actually taste blood. Wow. Why the hell did I do that? Right, I'm going to start. I'm going to stop my my sprint. The timer was set to count up rather than count down before. So I'm going to keep it like that. I'm going to set it to 30 minutes, counting up, and see how long it takes me to read chapter 2, which I'm thinking it took me 20 minutes to read 10 pages, so it's clearly a denser book than average. And chapter 2 is... Chapter 2 is another 10 pages, so it should take me 20 minutes to read. So, we're going to have a 20-minute reading sprint. I'm going to... And I'll see you in a bit. Well, if you're not here for the rest of the stream, no harm. But thanks for dropping in anyway. Right. Interesting. So, that's where I'm going to stop for the night. But I am going to talk a little bit further in on this. The second chapter focuses on the coup that's happening, rather than the character introduced in chapter 1. So I'm not sure that the character from chapter 1 is in fact a main character, or even likely to be the focus for much of the book. He may well have just been an opening chapter's POV, just to give a little bit of exposition on the world. So who exactly we're going to be following as the main character, I'm not sure yet. But having seen how that chapter has carried on from the first, religion is likely to be a major part of this story. That's intriguing, because that's difficult to do well. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out. Not the direction I would have taken it, but it works. And if done well, it can be very, very evocative. If done badly, it can be really tedious and really, really boring. So I'm hoping that it plays out well. There's been a couple of little hints at magic systems that we've yet to see fully explained. But of course, we're only 20 pages in, so there's plenty of time to explain them. I am excited to see what this book will do, but I suspect that this is going to be a slower read for me than some of the others. 20 pages in, I am tired, and I am aware that I don't want to continue reading. I want to take a break. I want to rest. It is late at night, so that's probably a major factor for me. Reading this close to bed is probably not a good move for me. But what that means is, after 35 minutes of reading this book, I feel like I need to put it down. That doesn't mean I'm not enjoying it, but it's a lot more of an investment time-wise to get as far in as, say, Warbreaker or Axiom's End was. That may just be today. I may continue reading it tomorrow and find that it reads much easier for me. So I can't say if it's the book or just me that's having the issue there. I'll find out, I'm sure. But I'm going to continue on with this. I'm enjoying it, and I don't see any issues with it so far. It got me interested earlier than Empire of Silence did, but Empire of Silence I feel is better written and has better, more consistent, more interesting prose. So far, of all the books I'm reading, discounting the two small books, because Stardust and Elevation are much smaller books, and I consider them to be in a different league. Considering all of the major books I'm reading at the moment, Axiom's End is the most surprisingly good compared to what I was expecting from it, but is at the bottom of the rung at the moment. Whereas Empire of Silence and Promise of Blood are both neck and neck for which ones are entertaining me and bringing me into the story, but they're doing it in different ways. So I'll be interested to see whether or not one of them peaks ahead of the other. I think Promise of Blood has the capability to jump beyond Empire of Silence and become something I'm going to enjoy more and resonate with more. Whereas Warbreaker is above them all at this point and is the book I'm most excited to get back to. So I'm probably going to go back to Warbreaker and read more of that before I finish any of the others. But that's simply because that's the one I'm resonating with the most, but that doesn't mean I'm disliking anything. This has enough difference to it that it's feeling very much like its own thing, which is great. I was afraid it was going to feel like a Sanderson book, and it doesn't. It's got a lot of similarities, but it doesn't feel like Sanderson. That's a good sign. Now, I would have liked to have had this stream go a little longer, but I've overestimated how much energy I've got and how awake I can be. So I'm going to call it here, and we can reconvene tomorrow during Sylvan's stream, because I believe that she has a stream that will be around 9 o'clock or 9:30 my time in the evening, so I'll be able to read during that. I'm probably going to read Warbreaker for that, and I'm going to see if I can finish off Elevation in the morning after I wake up. I was going to read it today, but after recording the video that went up on YouTube, ended up with quite a nasty little niggling migraine, so I ended up sleeping in the middle of the day for a couple of hours. I have got my new shelves up though, so I can start deciding how I want to do my bookshelf tour, which is something I'm looking forward to getting out. All of this is stuff I want to put up on the channel fairly soon. But yeah, this has been fun. I've got a sense of where the book's going, but it's hard to make a judgment. I'm not sure how interesting reading the first couple of chapters live actually is, because you can't really glean too much. You can only make some very surface level judgments. But so far, I'm enjoying it. And for what is potentially one of the most popular books on this channel and amongst my specific Discord audience, I hope that it's everything that people were hoping from it, so that no one feels like it's underwhelming or has let them down, because this has the potential to be a book that the community can rally behind and it can build from there, and that's something we need, I think. We're still a new, fresh community. We're still starting out. We're still quite small. Having a book that everyone is connected to, that would be a lovely thing to be able to drag forward. So, it definitely does feel turn of the century to me. The way that they describe their weapons, the way they describe what they're doing. They talk about muskets, but they also reference rifles as well. So I get the impression the musket is considered the old-fashioned gun, and the rifle is the newfangled thing they haven't quite got round to yet. So yeah, there is the way they describe the uniforms, the way they describe the rank names they use, how they're talking about their religion in the second chapter. It all feels like what I would expect from the late 1800s, maybe even as late as 1910. It feels appropriate. I could easily see this transitioning into World War One in style for, say, the second trilogy. Because I know this is a trilogy, I know there's another trilogy that happens. I would not be surprised if the second trilogy feels more like the World Wars, whereas this feels more like late Napoleonic right up to the very last years of the 19th century, which is a nice setting. It's something that we don't see a lot of, and interestingly enough, it's also extremely similar to the setting of the book I'm writing, which is possibly one of the reasons why I'm drawn to it, because it's quite similar in tech level and aesthetic design to the dystopian fantasy book I'm writing, which has a tech level around on par with like the 1870s. Yeah, it feels very similar. So I'm going to leave it there. Hope everyone gets World War One era setting with magic. You know what? I'm actually, before I go, now that you say that, I need to bring another series to light. this is one that people are not very familiar with. A series that I'm fairly sure, if people actually read it, they would enjoy, but almost no one knows about it. And that is the dark arts novels. It starts with Midnight Front, then the Iron Codex, and finally the Shadow Commission, all by David Mack. These are, to give you an idea, First World War, Second World War, beginning of the Cold War. That's the best way I can describe them without giving anything away, really. They are fantasy. They're fantasy magic, with kind of like a wartime thrill to them that are almost unique in the way that they've got the setting built up. David Mack is a sci-fi author first and foremost, so when he went into writing this fantasy series, he wrote it in a way that appeals more to sci-fi fans, but it still feels like a historic fantasy, and it's in a time frame that you would not expect. Like, literally, that is a First World War soldier holding a magic wand. That is a Third Reich era rebel on a motorbike with a magic wand. Like, this is not something you see often. Like, the third one's basically a spy novel with mages in the Cold War. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's not one that people know. It's not one that people have read. It's almost never been spoken about, and it's a series that I can honestly say I've got a soft spot for, even though I know it's not brilliantly written. It's not going to be a groundbreaking book series. It's not got the best prose. It's not got the best story arcs. But what it does have is very original and really, really entertaining. I heavily recommend David Mack's Dark Art series. And they come in these lovely, floppy, large paperbacks as well. I've not seen them in any other form. But yeah, Dark Arts by David Mack. One of the few series that I've read and no one else seems to have bloody read. Can finally lord a series over people. Anyway, I do need to disappear now. So, it's been fun, but I'm going to get some rest and go to bed. And maybe we can get people reading the Dark Art series in one of the future buddy reads. Night.